Ability Inside Disability podcast is aimed at having conversations on learning, intellectual, and developmental disabilities. These conversations are geared towards understanding these conditions like autism, dyslexia, Down syndrome, and support for persons with these conditions and their families. On this podcast, we do have guests that range from teachers, psychiatrists, neurologists, parents, and even persons with these conditions themselves. We would very much appreciate that you share these videos so your loved ones and others can benefit from the content in these conversations. We appreciate that you like them, and we'll also suggest that you subscribe so you can always receive notification whenever other videos on these conversations come.
Today we are back again with Mr. Ini Sam. He is a specialist in autism, a special needs practitioner with over 10 years of working with children, adolescents, adults with learning, intellectual and developmental disabilities. Last time he was here, we talked about comorbidities, and we are still on that topic. So today we will be talking about comorbidities that could come up along with autism. So today we will be talking about autism, comorbid Down syndrome, and autism, comorbid cerebral palsy. Mr. Ini, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, the last time we had this conversation on comorbidities with autism.
Yeah.
We talked about ADHD specifically, and what other condition did we talk about again?
Quite a lot.
Quite a lot, yeah.
Sleep disorder.
Sleep disorder, and even eating disorder.
Eating,
yeah.
Anxiety,
depression, yes.
OCD
as well.
Quite a lot of
So today we would, I want us to talk about autism, comorbid Down syndrome.
Okay.
Because Down syndrome is a standalone condition, right? So what is Down syndrome?
Okay, so Down syndrome is a genetic condition.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, the cause is clearly understood. That Down syndrome happens as a result of a multiplication, like an addition of an extra chromosome in the developing child. So ideally, when a child is conceived, 23 pairs of genes are contributed from both the father and the mother, making it 46 altogether in the child. Now, for a child who comes down with Down syndrome, instead of 46 chromosomes in total, the child ends up with 47 chromosomes. And why does that happen? Which particular chromosome brings in that extra one? That is explained by the scientific name of the condition. So Down syndrome is like the common name, but it's also called trisomy 21, which means that chromosome 21 specifically, instead of 2, becomes 3. And that addition is what leads the child to, or the individual to having Down syndrome. And just like you said, Down syndrome can also be a standalone condition, but just like autism, a lot of times, most times, Down syndrome rarely exists alone. Rarely.
These conditions, they rarely exist alone.
Right.
So what let's Down syndrome as a standalone condition now.
Right.
What are those? How does it impact the person with the condition? What are the challenges that a person with Down syndrome could experience?
Okay. Well, so for an individual with Down syndrome, there are quite a number of presentations, but I'll go through them one after the other. So one major presentation of Down syndrome is that these individuals would have a level of intellectual disabilities, which means they might have average to below average cognitive abilities.
It's a very prevalent indication.
Right. And then Down syndrome, unlike autism, has a look to it. There's a physical appearance to what an individual with Down syndrome looks like. So some physical features and characteristics would look like, okay, you have a bit slant eyes. The eyes are slanted a bit, almost like the Mongols in Asia and the rest. Right.
Chinese.
For Mongols, Chinese are just a part of them. The Thai and the rest. The Asians now. Right.
Features.
Right. And then the nose, like the ridge here, is flat. And with a smaller nose, right? The ears are considerably smaller, right? And then the head shape, they have this, should I say, round-looking face and head structure, right? And then when you move on to the arms, or let's start with the full physical appearance. They are usually average to below average in height, so they are mostly stout, right? They do not grow to full size when you look side by side with their family members. Yeah, they're a bit
a visible difference.
Right. And then in their palms, for instance, if you open up your palm, you most likely see multiple creases. So some people have 3, some have 4, and the rest. But for individuals with Down syndrome, is almost always a single crease.
Really?
Yeah.
I never.
Yeah, it's one of the classical presentations to look out for, and when assessment is being done of an infant that is at risk for Down syndrome, is one of the things they look out for. Yeah, you also look at the palm.
Just one.
Yeah, most times, and then they have something called epicantic folds, so lots of folds around the neck region, and the neck is usually very thick and broader than typical when you put them side by side with their peers, right? So the neck is usually wider and thicker, right? Even the palm, beyond the single crease, the texture is thicker, firmer, fuller, for that particular age. And for young children, for infants, right, they meet certain developmental milestones later. For instance, neck control. It's one of the first things a baby would develop. Yeah, but a baby with Down syndrome most times would struggle to gain neck control. So the neck will keep falling over. Yeah, so that comes later. And even sitting, there are delays before they can get to a point where they can sit independently.
Staying put.
Right.
It's difficult to sit upright.
Exactly. So that's with muscle tone. Right.
Or they have weak muscles.
Right. At that early age now. And then I spoke a little bit about the cognitive abilities being average to below average for individuals with Down syndrome. And there are some other health concerns that coexist with Down syndrome. So in the simplest way, approximately 50% of individuals born with Down syndrome have a heart defect. And so most times it's said they have a hole in their heart, right? And that has to be corrected surgically to actually, keep them healthy, and so they can live beyond those critical stages of childhood development, right? And that's just one of it. Now, people with Down syndrome can also struggle with their immunity, their immune system, right? So one other common presentation is what's it called now? Still around immunology, they catching flus easily, getting sick, they're susceptible, right? And as such have to be placed on medications just to boost their immune system and get them stable, right? So these are a few conditions that coexist with Down syndrome. Sometimes you can have an individual with Down syndrome who also has defects with their sight. Yes, it's also common. It's also common, yeah. It's common with children with Down syndrome. Defects with their sight. Some have defects in hearing. Yeah, so either conductive or sensorineural hearing loss. Right. Yeah. So as we move ahead, we're still going to touch base on a couple of other things that can coexist with Down syndrome. And from the way you introduced the program today, Down syndrome can also coexist with autism, ADHD, depression, anxiety, all these other conditions that we spoke of in the last episode when we discussed comorbidities in autism.
Right. So Down syndrome can also comorbid with ADHD. And I think seizure is also prevalent.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Because I think I've experienced that myself. With children with Down syndrome, yeah. Right. So now, with all of these possible challenges and complications that could come with Down syndrome, comorbiding with autism, that would be a lot on a child. Right. So I know you've worked with different clients with different conditions over the years. In your experience, have you had the opportunity to work with a child who has both Down syndrome and autism?
In my own practice, no, but I've met a few, but I've worked with children with autism, and I've also worked with children with Down syndrome in the same clinic.
So
yeah.
What would be the most impactful on the child in terms of the consequences of these conditions? You understand? Yeah. Together now.
Now, I'm just trying to picture Now, autism is a whole complication. Down syndrome on its own, likewise. An entirely different complication, and these conditions, even as standalone conditions, are difficult in themselves. So now coexisting, it makes the needs quite dire. It makes it quite dire, and then especially because Down syndrome comes with a lot of medical and health challenges.
And you mentioned earlier on about issues with immunity.
Yes.
Autism also comes with issues with immunity because of the challenges they have with their guts.
With the guts, yeah.
So but do people with Down syndrome, is it leveled like the way autism is leveled, or it's practically the same across the board for anybody with Down syndrome? Because like, you know, in autism now, you have mild, you have moderate, you have moderately severe, you have profound. So, you know, let's say if a person has Down syndrome and has a mild form of autism, you can say, okay, maybe the challenges will be more on the Down syndrome side than on the autism side. Is that a realistic way of looking at it?
Well, that's a perspective, but it might not capture the entire picture.
So it's not a safe way to approach it?
No, it's not a safe way, because if you give priority to certain presentations, undermining the rest, the areas you're giving priority to can actually improve,
Yes.
but the areas that were, put at the background, not given proper attention,
Yes.
can now increase in severity and
overwhelm.
and the level of impact that you would have desired having worked on some presentations might not be felt.
Might not be felt.
No, it
Can
might-
hold the impact back.
Right. It might not be felt. So it's always best to do a proper and a comprehensive assessment of whatever condition a child, an individual has, and the benefits of having a proper assessment. It goes beyond just establishing that, oh, this child has autism, this child has Down syndrome. It goes beyond that, because he has autism, he has Down syndrome. Okay, so what does his autism look like?
What does autism?
What does his Down syndrome look like? What are the unique presentations, the challenges and the strengths and to this particular individual? So when you do a comprehensive assessment, then you can tell, okay, let's go to communication. How's the child's communication?
How's the child's communication?
We go to behavior. How's behavior? Challenging? Do we have problem behaviors? What we call challenging behaviors? What are the severity? Are they self-injurious? Is there aggression towards others? And all of that. Are they depressive tendencies? How severe is the anxiety?
And the explosiveness.
Thank you.
How severe is the explosiveness?
Right. And then, okay, we've spoken.
And how severe and how the occurrence.
Thank you. The frequency.
The frequency.
Yeah. And then we now move on to, okay, we've done behavior. We've spoken about communication. Self-help skills. That's activities of daily living skills. And self-help skills can also be tied to the level of cognitive ability, intellectual functioning.
And will also influence the level of severity in behavior issues.
Exactly.
Because frustration that arises from the inability to be able to help yourself can really combust.
Thank you. It's just like you
the outputs of communication through behavior.
Right. So there is this, should I call it a knowing in our clients now?
Yes.
When they say, deaf people have anger issues.
I understand that.
Now there's an explanation to it.
There's an explanation to it, and people don't really stop to understand the explanation to it. They have anger issues because they are frustrated.
You're trying to communicate,
and nobody's listening. Nobody is listening because nobody understands you.
So you would do whatever you can do to
draw their attention.
Right.
and once it becomes a means of communication,
it's sustained.
It's sustained and improved and reinforced and increased.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
that's another perspective, which means now that even within the autism leveling, it's not as exact. You understand? It's just descriptive. It's not actual, in the sense that one child can be mildly autistic in some areas, moderately autistic in some areas, severely autistic in some areas, and profound in some areas.
There's a term for it. So it's called spiky profiles.
Okay, good. So when you have a spiky profile, how would the management look like comorbiding that one with Down syndrome?
Okay, so in trying to explain what spiky profile is, so you meet an individual, and they say, this one even autism? He can do math now. He can do this one. So it's just like just picture what's it called now? A line graph now.
Yes.
So something like this, going up, coming down, going up, coming down. You might have an individual who is excellent in a particular area, maybe in memory. Amazing memory. Then when it comes to social communication, it's down there. Then you go to reading ability, over the roof. You come to writing, down in the pit. You understand? So it keeps, and with that, you can't really gloss over those areas of challenges or over exaggerate the areas where they are up there. So then again, how do you manage these in individuals? You pick out the unique presentations separately and provide interventions there per area of need. And that is why in interventions, you need to develop an individualized education plan. That's what's called an IEP.
An IEP.
And for people who have behavioral concerns and challenges, there's also a functional behavior analysis that you need to conduct to establish the present behaviors that are impacting the individual's quality of life, and then you now provide targeted behavioral interventions to those specific behaviors. So it's unlike what we do in regular schools, where you just have maybe a class of 20 pupils all seated. We have one curriculum, we have one timetable, and the teacher is poised on following the scheme of work and everything, going through the motions with everybody and hoping that everybody follows and benefits from instruction. And okay, maybe the few ones who are lagging behind, you do little extras here and there. But for persons living with genetic, developmental and intellectual conditions like what we're discussing today, intervention support has to be highly tailored. Is the child potty trained? Not yet. The focus will be on potty training. What's the child's level of communication? He's still using single words. He's not forming sentences, not even using phrases. The focus would be to move from single sentences to phrases and then to sentences. The child is repeating everything you say. It's echoing back. The focus would be teaching the child to actually provide accurate responses to whatever questions. Not how are you, and the individual is also saying how are you. That's not functional. It's not functional. Right. So the goal, you can see at this point, is highly tailored. And by the time the goal is achieved, you can see it, everybody can see it, and then there is transfer across environments. And that's what's called generalization. The child can do the same thing he's doing with the therapist at home, in school, place of worship, playground. You can actually say, this child has achieved this goal. Then you phase that one out, or if the goal was tiered, maybe low level, mid level, you increase the difficulty level just so the child is able to attain independence as much as possible
within that goal that you've set.
Thank you. And if you've gotten to a point where the child has finally mastered that entire goal area, you phase it out, bring in another area of concern that the child is yet to master, and then periodically you maintain those ones that they've already mastered.
They don't regress on that.
Thank you.
Okay, now this is a lot, even for me listening to you here now. So a teacher, a school owner is listening to this conversation we're having now, and it's like, how am I supposed to achieve all of this if I really want to become an inclusive school, or I want to be an inclusive teacher? What would be your advice? Because you have a child, for example, with autism, Down syndrome, and the parent wants the child to go to be in a regular school setting, which is what we advocate for, as much as possible. So now, you have to create IEP to support the child's needs in these two conditions, together, while still ensuring that the child participates in activities with his or neurotypical peers, because that is why you are having an inclusive structure. So what would be your advice?
Well,
to a teacher and to a school owner?
The first point of call, in short, when you're having a difficulty, you're trying to do something and you're struggling, you're unable to do it, most often than not, it's usually a knowledge problem.
A knowledge problem, okay.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So, the mountain in your life is what you don't know.
So you have to break down mountain
Yes.
by going to learn first.
Seek knowledge.
Seek knowledge.
And I don't know, I find myself using this, should I say, this sentence or this term a lot these days. Information is open source nowadays.
It's open source, yes.
So there is, even if it's at an entry level, a beginner level, with the internet and the availability of free tools, you can get yourself from beginner to at least intermediate. On any field.
Which is huge.
On any field. And most times, the only price you have to pay is attention.
Viewers, can you hear that now? Teachers and school owners. Meaning there is no excuse for us not to be an inclusive society through inclusive education, inclusive classrooms. Go online. After listening to this conversation now, go online, do more research, get more understanding, and apply. You will grow accordingly.
And still on that, there is only so much you can learn on your own.
You need mentors.
Exactly. And there's a level of information, there's a level of awareness and understanding that you will want to get to that would mandate you to get into communities, that will mandate you to pay for trainings, that will mandate you to pay for tools. You know, I guess most people who are listening to us on this podcast, you would appreciate the benefits of using paid tools as opposed to using free versions.
Because these days, even the free tools now,
There are limitations to it.
the limitations are so
And they're deliberate.
so impactful, of course, because those people doing the tools too, they seek knowledge, they pay for knowledge to come create those tools. So they need to be able to sustain the tools.
And then anything of real value will cost you something. I listened to a trainer, I think some years ago, and he blatantly said, stop going to cheap schools. And it's sunk, like it's still somewhere inside me, because there's a difference. You might say it's the same information that is being disseminated, but it's hardly so. You're going to a business school. It matters what business school you're going to. Who will be your classmates? Who will be your colleagues? Who will be your tutors? What have your tutors or your lecturers built? Right? And you being in an environment with people who are actually building real things and scaling real things, and the influence of those people rubbing off on you, you can benefit from pro bono services just by being part of an excellent community.
Exactly.
So my advice now to teachers, beyond getting trained, studying deeply on inclusion and how to improve inclusive practices and how to support learners with diverse needs, you also have to submit yourself to some sort of mentorship or belong in communities. For instance, in Nigeria here, there are a couple of communities for school owners, communities for school owners that run inclusive schools, communities for specialists, special educators, therapists, and it helps to
knowledge from their peers.
Communities for parents who have children with special needs, both the broader communities and very specific communities. Say your child has autism. There are communities for parents who have children with autism. There are communities for parents who have children with Down syndrome. And what do you stand to benefit in communities like that? Not everybody has a child of the same age in that community. Not everybody has a child of the same severity level. In short, everybody's journey is largely unique, but belonging in that community where you see people share their own stories, you know, you meet a challenge in your trying to support your child or the client or the student in your class, you go put that, of course, maintaining anonymity of your clients, you put that in the community. Oh, I'm stuck here, I need help. Most often than not, the community would be very willing to pour out from their experiences
for free.
For free. That's why I said pro bono. Most times, and you cannot sleep on that. You cannot sleep on that, because how would you know the angles that you've not explored yet? So there's this other term that I love, this other quote that I love. It said, caught up in ourselves, we make a very small package. So if you feel all you know is all there is to know,
you will be very restricted.
Too restricted.
In your perspective, perception,
everything,
and even the outcome you produce will be very limited in terms of impact.
Thank you. Thank you. So as much as possible, you have to open up yourself. It's scary for parents.
Because you'll also be exposed to.
Thank you.
But again, if you cannot, everything comes with a risk. You know, everything, now that you've mentioned parents, I think us parents most times, in fact more often than not, we do ourselves a lot of disservice by being very, 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 very protective and very, very, not even protecting, what are you protecting? Very, very secluding, that's the word, very, very secluding of the issues that you're facing. Because first of all, you wouldn't be the first person to have a child with any type of need. Yeah? Somebody has been there before. Somebody is just coming in. So you even have juniors already.
That you can help. Right.
You have seniors that you can help from.
Yeah.
You know? And allowing yourself to participate in conversations, in communities like you said now. Allowing yourself to engage will give you the opportunity to validate what the effort you've been making, which is very important.
Right.
Because in my own personal experience, I came to, you know, up until that time, I had already been on this journey with my son for over 8 years. Imagine. But I was now able to articulate concretely and validate everything, every effort I had made after 8 years. Because of an opportunity that presented itself. And the requirement for that opportunity was having a child with developmental condition and knowing, having experience managing such child.
Right.
So what that does, what that tells me now is that enough for you to have a child with any of these conditions? It's more important for you to participate in that child's life.
Yeah.
But you cannot participate alone, by yourself. But again, and I didn't do that alone. Of course, I did it mostly alone, but I got training, which means in that area, it wasn't alone.
Right.
I stepped out of my space.
Yeah.
But I was still mostly by myself. And because of that, I couldn't get the strength that comes with validation.
That comes with community.
That comes with community until after 8 years of that journey. 8 to 9 years of that journey. You understand? Yeah. So, and I'm amongst the very, very fortunate ones, because it's not everybody that gets a chance to have that opportunity to be validated.
Right.
And many times, if you don't get that opportunity to be validated early, especially as a parent, because the journey is long, it's tedious. There are joys along, but there's a lot of work, you know. This is an honest podcast. So if you don't get that validation early, the whole process could become very tiring.
Right.
Could become very distressing. And you will start regressing faster than the child with the condition. And you don't want that, you know, because when you regress, a child will regress worse. And not just that child alone, the entire family will regress along with you.
Right.
Because you are their centerpiece. And you cannot afford, you know, not to be able to manage your situation. But like you're saying, nobody can manage their situation alone.
Yeah.
So we always have to not to be afraid to put ourselves out there. You don't even have to mention your name. You can start by just coming up with stories, but you know what you are looking for.
Yeah.
As you now gradually build your confidence, then you can now be more exposing of your identity,
Yeah.
or your child's identity.
Yeah.
Still, you have control over all of those things. But the point here is that we should not keep everything to ourselves alone because we are ashamed, we are scared, and what if the child now improves? That's another problem with parents. It's like, what if the child's condition now improves to the point that nobody will even know that they have that condition? If you had said your child had autism before, it will be difficult for you to remove it. This is drama in your head. You can't do that. The child has not improved. That is the stage you are at now. Focus there. And even if the child becomes better, which is the prayer of us as parents and as practitioners, having a diagnosis of autism, Down syndrome, or whatever other condition is not a shameful thing. Then the child should now be taught to become an advocate.
For themselves.
They advocate for themselves, they advocate for their peers. So that tomorrow, if you are not there, there's nothing to be ashamed about. And everybody would have accepted them long time ago with their condition.
You know, something just dropped in my mind as you were speaking. And, you know, the reason why this is a lot challenging and even tricky within the autism community is because there is no physical appearance to autism. So it is until an individual acts out.
Yes.
You know, blots out some idiosyncratic phrases, it's repeating lines from something you watched previously at seemingly inappropriate moments, you know, you start seeing repetitive patterns of behavior, a child is rocking, is pacing up and down, is flapping, then people now start to guess, oh, okay, so something is different, or why is this individual not sitting one place, why is he all over the place, why is he hugging people he doesn't know? And but for conditions like Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, it's all over. So whether you feel like accepting the condition or not, as far as the child is outside, it is glaring.
It's in everybody's faces.
And in that case, the earlier you get to the point of acceptance, the earlier you can start accepting help too.
We're talking about the Down syndrome condition now?
Yes, I'm still trying to get back to, but this is more like me starting somewhere and heading in the same direction of our conversation today. So, like I started, the only reason why the autism community struggles with that, I don't want to identify with it too early. Of course, let's keep hope alive and everything, is because there's no physical appearance to it.
It allows that procrastination and that that need to hold back. For it is easy for the validation to come in.
And I do not have a problem with it in the direct sense of the word. Getting to the point of acceptance takes a different duration for everybody. For everybody, regardless of where the person is right now, maybe he's an advocate out there, different people have different stories of their journeys towards acceptance. But the crux of the matter is, until you get to the point of acceptance, whatever level of acceptance, because acceptance is also tiered. There's okay, it's here now, let's start looking for help. Then there's the acceptance where you get to a level where, in short, you're looking for silver linings in every dark cloud. Right?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So it's no longer a thing of my son has autism, but his own is mild. It becomes, my son has autism, but Despite the challenges, he can do this, he can do this, he can do this. We're working on this, we're working on this, and we trust the process every day. We show up and we do it as a team, we do it as a family, whatever your village looks like, right? And this is the same mindset we would want to encourage.
That is where I was coming to, because we are looking. It's very. It's very easy for us as parents to quickly, especially in this day and time, to quickly understand the need to see our children as their own individuals when they are neurotypicals compared to when they have challenges. And that's wrong. Especially, like you said earlier on, my son has autism, but it is mild. Whatever that child has is not about you. You have to start from there. Because just as it is our responsibility to create a very, very emotional environment for our children who are neurotypicals, a safe space, we also have to have it in mind that we are also responsible for creating safe spaces for our children who have challenges. You understand? Especially challenge like autism now that is not easily apparent. So if you have a child who has mild autism or moderate autism, because moderate autism can very much look like mild in so many areas, and exactly in so many areas. So why I am very much advocating for the quick acceptance of parents of their children's condition. Why I'm advocating for that is that the more we delay, the more our choices based on that delay will destroy our children's psychology. And before you know it, in addition to that autism, they will not develop psychosocial issues, beginning with anxiety. Because what we will be doing at that time that we have not accepted our child with the condition is we'll be thinking of how to rebuild the child. And there's nothing to rebuild. You understand what I'm trying to say? There is nothing to rebuild. The only thing you can do is look at yourself as, I really need to support this child to become the best version of themselves. Because even us, that we call ourselves normal, we have so many sides to us. We are constantly improving ourselves. So why would you now want to fix the child right from the get-go? So the goal will not be for you to even know the child. Because you are not seeing that child. Yeah. The child you are seeing is the child that you want the child to be. And that is totally destructive. And if you are not careful, that child will now start developing personalities to align with what you are looking for, so that you will be happy and they will feel satisfied because they are no longer contributing to their father and their mother's misery. So at the end of the day, it ends up becoming about you, the parent, and not the child. So for me, knowing what I know, now where I am seriously advocating, because even when parents, and another problem that we talked about inclusive school earlier on. Yeah. We talked about how the teachers can become inclusive, right? The teacher is out there taking classes, training themselves, empowering themselves so that they can be of benefit to the different children with different abilities in their classroom. Yeah. Yet the parents of these children, they've not accepted the children. How is that going to work? It's not going to work.
It can be very frustrating. It's more common than we talk about.
It is. And it is very, very common with conditions that are very hidden, like the autism and the dyslexia and the dyscalculia and the dysgraphia.
Exactly.
Because these conditions are not obvious to the naked eyes, it's difficult for parents, it's easy for parents to run. They are running, but they are running away from the child who needs them. So it is not about, the pain is not yours. The pain is not yours. It is only when you want to have pain that you have pain. The child will always have more pain than you will ever have. What is the pain that you have? Oh, you are not, somebody else will talk about your child somehow. That pain is very, very small compared to the bullying that child will experience when you are not there. Compared to the side eye that they will be facing. Compared to the struggle that the child will be going through because they don't know what to do to be able to meet up with their peers that they are in the same class with. They need you to fight for them. They need you to advocate for them. They need you to be in their corner, regardless of the speed with which they are improving. So me, right now, at this stage, I don't see a single benefit in any parent delaying acceptance. We have to push ourselves. I know I've listened to somebody who said one of the mistakes she made is that she did not grieve. Fine. It's good for you to grieve, but while you're grieving, accept that this is the situation. Demarcate the grieving. The grieving is for you, the support is for your child.
Not to trivialize this, not to trivialize it in any way, but I remember growing up, my eldest brother made this joke at some point. Yes. He say, I know you're angry, but eat first.
It's true.
You know.
Because even eat the food.
No, it can contribute.
Articulate your anger.
No, but if you're not eating, maybe you lost someone, you're grieving, and you've lost appetite, and you feel that you need to take ownership for the loss.
Exactly.
And put it on your shoulders, and because of that, you're not feeding well. Your health will be impacted over time, and definitely the complications that are going to come on you, even after the emotions of grief have waned or you've gotten past that stage, you would have left grieving, but you will now have a new challenge.
Yes.
To work on, which is fixing your health.
Fixing your health.
Right.
You know, you said something just now, take ownership. I like that word. I want to bring that word back into what I was saying earlier on. I think one of those things that will help us parents overcome our grief when we get this kind of diagnosis, especially for the hidden conditions, will be that we should know and we should remind ourselves that we don't own these children. You understand? You can't take ownership of somebody's death. It's not your place to hold anybody back from death. You can't do that. Everybody has a time for their death. Yeah. The mystery around it is that we don't know. But death is the surest existence in humanity.
Inevitable.
It's the surest thing. Your wealth is not sure, your health is not sure, your safety is not sure, but your death is a certainty. So if we look at it from the perspective of death not being a thing for us to own, our children are not a thing for us to own. So if we don't own them, God has created them the way He has chosen to create them. So if we see it through that lens, it now becomes, okay, this child is here now. This is what this child has come with. Let's start to help. Because if we do that, if we use that mindset, we will be able to allow all of the goodness and support that will come our way and the way of that child reach us.
Right.
But if we continue to look at it as your entire existence is your child, defines who you are, meanwhile you will die and leave this child, you will draw back the child and you will bury yourself in a hole you cannot come out from, a hole of pain.
To buttress this further, this week, yesterday, I saw local news about a clergy who has been sentenced to, I think, life imprisonment or something for killing his 16-year-old daughter with Down syndrome.
Can you imagine?
So it still goes back to, making it about himself.
His reputation.
Yeah.
As a pastor, as a clergyman. Meanwhile, the Bible he's reading tells him. that God created. Not you created, God created.
So,
But that anger of why me? This is disgraceful. Now led him into destroying his entire family now. He is in prison now, but the child is already dead.
So it's always better sometimes to step away. From the condition, and then you have a better perspective.
Because the truth is, as parents, we step away all the time from our neurotypical children. Sometimes, as we are raising them, when they are doing their thing, they are not hungry, they are not hot, you leave them to do their thing. Eventually, they will come around. Because you are training them on how to be able to understand their emotions and make a decision and make their choice. Even when babies are crying, you don't pick up the baby every time the baby is crying. At that point, clearly, the baby is different from you. Right? Yeah. Because if the baby is your property, if that is the mindset you're raising that child with, you always pick up the child because you don't want anything to go wrong. But leaving the child alone already, you're already creating boundaries. You're already creating that sense of, you're your own person, I'm my own person. I need my space. You stay in your space. If eating, go and sleep.
And the beautiful part is that actually builds independence.
So know what you're talking about?
Yeah, it does.
But now, just because the child has a challenge, it will be like, is this graceful? Is this? I can't raise my head. I can't go to your friend. Any friend that does not want you to come to his house or her house because you have a child with challenge, don't go. How can I be a friend? Leave them to their own house. If the day you see that child as their own person, as a creature of God, worthy of your support, God will direct you to all of the homes that will welcome you. Yeah. Everybody cannot welcome you. And you too should not allow everybody to welcome you. Only allow people that accommodate you to welcome you, because everything about us is all about the choices that we are making. And we have to be intentional. Also for our own peace of mind, because you keep insisting that it has to be your way or the highway. Eventually, everything will end up destroying. Right. Yeah. I was hoping that we would talk about how school owners will be able to also equip themselves, what they could do to create an environment that is inclusive. So maybe we will include that in our subsequent conversation, where we will talk about autism, comorbid cerebral palsy, and other conditions as well. Right. So our viewers, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you all had an amazing time. I had so much time that I was running all over the place. Hopefully it makes sense to all of you, because we are really passionate here, and I'm sure you can see it in how we approach these issues. We are passionate because we desperately believe that goodness can come out of all of this situation. Right. And the biggest challenge to that is our mindset. Once we shift our mind to possibility, away from pain, anger, grief, and why me, all sorts of roads of joy, of help will open. That doesn't mean there will not be pain. Of course, in our regular everyday life, there is pain. And we see it as part of growth. This should not be an exception to that, because nothing is promised to us on this earth except challenge and growth. And in achieving that, we have to be ready, to be realistic, practical, and enjoy the process. So, in our next episode, we will be talking about autism, comorbid cerebral palsy, as well as other conditions out there. So thank you so much for joining this podcast. Please share this video, like it, subscribe to the channel, so that everybody around you and far away from you can benefit. Thank you so much. Stay blessed.